The first books of the Bible taken together are named Pentateuch, a Greek word meaning 5 books. The Israelites name it Torah, meaning the law. Originally, the Torah was a single book, not 5, but the separation and its name appeared in the Greek Bible named Septuagint, which is a translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, started in the 3rd century before Christ and concluded at the end of the 2nd century before Christ. The author of the Torah was God through Moses. Moses began writing around the year 1946 before Christ. The Holy Scriptures confirm that Moses wrote the Torah. And the Lord said to Moses, "Write this, a memorial in a book." And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord. And Moses wrote this law. And keep this charge of the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses. Jesus also confirmed that Moses was the writer of the Torah. For if you had believed Moses, you'd have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you do not believe his writings, it is also possible, because of the longevity of the patriarchs, the oral tradition came to Moses through 6 stages. In the first stage, we have Adam, who lived until the 243 years of Methuselah. Methuselah lived until the 98 years of Sem. Sem lived until the 50 years of Jacob. Jacob lived until the 60 years of Levi, his son. Levi lived until around the 77 years of Amram. Amram was Moses' father, and Moses was the 7th stage. But we can find something extremely important in the 40 days and 40 nights that Moses was with God on Mount Sinai. Perfect time for divine inspiration. We must not discard that God revealed his law to Moses. Theologically, the Torah is the column for the Old Testament and New Testament. But is the Torah really Word of God? The events happened on Mount Sinai were not only witnessed by Moses, but for all the people of Israel, that when they journeyed from Egypt, they were around 3 million people. They were witnesses about the events surrounding when the tablets were given, as it is written. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw, they trembled and stood afar off. And you came near and stood under the mountain. And the mountain burned with fire to the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. The Lord did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, all of us here alive today. It is true, the Torah, if we consider that involves directly the millions of witnesses who were at the scene of the events, and that none of them rejected the written word, but they took them as genuine historical evidence. Then we can say that it is evidenced that the Torah is entirely truthful. If it had been a lie or a fallacy, we will face the certainty of a malicious plot of more than 3 million people, and they all plotted the biggest scam of all time. If the words that are in the Torah were false, the millions of witnesses had refused that big lie. If it had been a lie or a fallacy, we will face the certainty of a malicious plot of more than 3 million people, and they all plotted the biggest scam of all time. If the words that are in the Torah were false, the millions witnesses had refused that big lie. When we find stories that happen to one person and its veracity has not weight to be demonstrated, we are in front of a legend, wonderful traditional events that have not something historical or real. In that way, for those who are not witnesses, their credibility is based simply on the blind faith. A legend may not be false all times, maybe it is true, but the conviction of the people that were not at the scene is based in the faith. On the contrary, when a story is based on the assertion of the large number of eyewitnesses, we are in front of the history. With regard to the Torah, there are evidences that is not legend, but factual history, and that witnesses who did not deny the facts, they obeyed the commandments of the Lord. This means that the conviction about all that is written in the Torah for those who witnessed these events and for their descendants, it is history. But for those who did not watch the events but believe it as a truth, it is faith. I am a believer by faith, but the descendants of these witnesses are the Jews, who, as we know, they were subjected by the Babylonians, Medes and Persians, Greeks, Romans, and they were an independent nation until May 1948, and even then, they did not become extinct or their beliefs. Where are Babylon and its gods? Where are the Medes and Persians? What happened to the wisdom of the Greeks and their deities? And even more so, what happened to the great Roman Empire? However, the Jewish people prevail, and it is because they have the true God, except in all matters relating to Jesus. What other evidence can be found about the veracity and authenticity of the Pentateuch? No doubt, the Torah was revealed by God to Moses. What is written in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, it is definitely and absolutely Word of God.